We're here at Marketecture Live. I'm here with Team Tatari today. I wanted you to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm Andy Schonfeld. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Tatari. I've been with the company for almost 7 years.
Andy, can you tell me a little bit about Tatari? How big are you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been doing this for about 10 years. We're roughly 300 people on the people side with offices in New York, LA, San Francisco. So we've got a pretty good presence. Obviously, we build infrastructure to modernize TV. Brands have grown with us from the early days of spending $100,000 a year to call it $80 million plus a year and going into the Super Bowl. So it's all types of brands. We've grown. Obviously, we started more performance and obviously do a lot more branding now. We also work with over 70 agencies that leverage the platform. So we're growing that side as well. But overall, we've transacted billions of dollars through the platform since our infancy. And yeah, super excited to be here.
Amazing. You guys are a fantastic sponsor. We love having you guys here. You can see the branding behind us. The content and the stage discussion that just happened was incredible. So thank you for that. I wanted to ask you a couple questions today. In particular, you guys talk a lot about convergent television, streaming, as well as linear. I wanted to ask you, what does that mean for you? And why are you guys so adamant about direct buying and what that means for your business?
Yeah, it's a great question and probably a lot to unpack. At a high level, what I'd say is Tatari for 10 years has been sort of promoting and screaming from the rooftops about convergent TV, right? And first of all, it's great to see that kind of coming to the forefront within the industry. So that's super exciting. At a high level, right? The reality is while programmatic is important, it's still a sliver of the TV market. Philippe talked a little bit about that on stage. But there's just certain pieces of inventory and reach from a brand perspective you just can't access if you're only buying programmatically. So it's a huge miss from a reach perspective for a brand. And so for us, it's just super important to be able to have those access points, be able to combine linear streaming, online video in a unified platform, basically like an operating system that can do measurement, planning, and buying across all three of those. And so, yeah, that's why we're so loud about it, why it's so important.
I mean, from my perspective, I'm familiar with the acquisition that you guys did a few years ago, The Viewpoint. You guys got much closer to the supply side of the business. You have fantastic relationships with all of the TV broadcasters in the space, all of the streaming solutions in space. What makes you feel that there's a need to improve the buying side of that aspect? And where do you feel that there's improvements that Tatari wants to bring to market?
Yeah, I mean, again, you have a huge piece of the inventory that's not accessible through DSPs or even through other platforms that are out there. And so the crux of that acquisition and what we've built for the last 2 years with Upstream was how do you get more direct to supply? We had always built a platform that was direct in nature, but a lot of it was still what I'd call semi-automated from an insertion order perspective, right? So if you're sending 300 IOs to Tubi or Hulu on a weekly basis, that's not very operationally efficient for the publisher. And so with Upstream, we've made that closer together through automation, very similar to programmatic, but without the auction, right? And so you've got more transparent supply, you've got closeness to supply, you've got the efficacy and effectiveness of pricing. But beyond that, right, you have the ability to tap directly into the ad server and to be able to run pieces of inventory that you could not otherwise access. I talk a lot about live sports in the examples I give with this. The most extreme, obviously, is the Super Bowl, which a piece of that obviously was on streaming. You couldn't access that through DSP. Another example I give is the MLB playoffs, right? So last fall, we ran actually, I think it was 8 brands in Game 6 of the ALDS, the Yankees-Toronto Blue Jays. Ended up being 4 million viewers. We bought all of those spots the day of the actual game at roughly a 60-70% discount off rate card. You couldn't access that through DSP. You actually couldn't do that through linear means because you couldn't go fast enough. Right. So having that direct access to supply is where it's so important to be able to take advantage of that. And then what you do is you complement the spikes and the traffic you see from those big brand moments, right? And you run programmatic. You retarget them. You run different creative variations. And so that's where the complement of all that was the crux of the acquisition.
And I'd love that because live is such a hot topic right now. Live streaming has become obviously a huge interest to advertisers and to brands in the market. Do you have any stats in particular that show how much is programmatically sold or bought in the streaming world?
Yeah, I mean, I could speak to us, right? So right now, roughly 90% or so is still direct for us, right? But I think what people fail to realize, and it's an interesting kind of stat, and it's a lot to unpack, right? Is that a lot of the streaming counted or attributed inventory that actually happens in the ecosystem, it's actually only still accessible through linear means. What do I mean by that? So I watch Hulu Live TV at home, right? People watch YouTube TV. You would think that streaming, and actually a lot of accredited solutions out there will actually say that streaming, it's actually linear, right? Because you can only buy that through that certain feed. So again, if you don't have the automation to be able to tackle that on a very fast basis, then you're going to miss out on that inventory. So look, programmatic's growing. It will continue to grow, but again, it's not.
There's value to both. There's value to direct. I think there's an opportunity for advertisers to access that inventory in a way that they couldn't have before. You talked about automation a little bit. I wanted to ask you AI. We can't do any interviews without mentioning AI. It is kind of the tip of everybody's tongue. What are you guys doing to operationalize that? What are you doing that to improve your business overall?
So I would say we take the less flashy, less sexy pieces of AI. It's more back-end infrastructure. It's how we think about optimization and sort of performance engine loops. And so what I mean by that, we took 10 years of performance data, right? And we redistribute that into our Databricks intelligent platform. That allows us to start training large language models on all of that proprietary data, performance signals, reach, what publishers work for which brands. And now we're able to leverage all of that data. And we've built something called the planning engine, which basically allows you to put a few inputs into the platform and be able to spit out a plan across linear streaming, online video, programmatic in seconds, which used to take hours, right? And it gives a lot of time back for whether it's self-serve buyers that use Tatari's platform or our own internal media buyers that do managed service to actually be more strategic, right? So it's making us more efficient and faster. It's obviously not replacing, the strategic human element of it. And then the other piece I would say around AI is obviously on the creative side. And so we're taking less of an approach around building creatives, but it's all about ingestion of the actual creative signals that would speed up the ability to get approvals on the networks, right? So certain buys, particularly direct buys that will go on, The Bear or other large shows, they'll go through a pretty strict, regimented review process. So we've sped that up with AI to be able to be more efficient, more fast.
And do you feel that speeding up that ability to buy television across the board, that seems to open up a market for all types of SMBs, that seems to open up a market for advertisers to quickly react, launch, and go live with their brands? Are you seeing that that's something that's loved and accepted by your clients and your prospects as well?
Yeah, so we work with hundreds of brands today, and that's obviously growing on a daily basis. But the crux of the upstream connection, right, is that we can now go direct into that inventory at lower price points because we don't have to send all these manual orders. And so that is bringing the speed and agility of new advertisers into the market. Tatari plays less in the very small market, right? The $50 per day type of advertisers, more in the $5,000, $10,000 plus a day type range. But we believe that there's hundreds of thousands of advertisers in that bucket, and it will continue to grow.
Awesome. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.